Hello, and thank you for joining us for the inaugural State of MTS. Every new year brings with it fresh energy and a renewed spirit. Last year was challenging, but it has been very encouraging for MTS employees to experience how grateful our passengers are for continuing to maintain a high level of service. MTS employees continue stepping up to safely serve our communities and keep our system reliable for the passengers who need it the most. And we look forward to building on this resolve. We have a dedicated and motivated board of directors to lead us. Some are new to our board who will bring new ideas and fresh approaches. Others have been with us for many years. They have a keen understanding of our operation and where we need to go in the future for continued success. There are many things to look forward to in 2021 for MTS. I am excited you will learn about it tonight from our board chair, Supervisor Nathan Fletcher. Chair Fletcher brings a broad scope of knowledge, understanding, and expertise to our transit system. He has been a steadfast leader for MTS and will deliver some exciting news. We are grateful to have him as our board chair for 2021. On behalf of all 2,800 employees and contractors at MTS, I'd like to personally thank you for your support, engagement, and commitment to make our region a better place for all. And now, I'd like to introduce you to MTS Board Chair Nathan Fletcher to deliver the 2021 State of MTS.
2 years ago, when I was elected chair of MTS, I said that great cities and regions have great transportation systems. I believe that now more than ever. Transit systems connect residents, connect communities, connect economies. They connect us to one another. They improve our environment, our economy, and they are a foundational part of any region. We are facing obvious challenges from COVID-19, but we are meeting this challenge and stand in a strong position to continue to fulfill our mission for essential workers and are ready to build back better when we move from response to COVID recovery. This inaugural State of MTS serves as a reflection of what we have accomplished to date and the work and opportunities that are in front of us in 2021. We will continue to be a national leader among transit agencies. We will continue our investment in zero-emission buses and expanding our trolley lines. We will continue reforming and improving our transit enforcement practices, engaging and listening to our riders, our workers, and our community partners. And we will continue to be a model on safety, on-time performance, prudent fiscal management. So whether you are a daily rider, one of our thousands of employees, or just someone who cares about transit, I'm thankful that you are turning in today. Prior to the pandemic, ridership at MTS was increasing. We were at a watershed moment for our agency. And the 8 months before the pandemic started, MTS added an extra 2 million passenger trips. And we were seeing many consecutive months of year-over-year gains in ridership. This is a stark contrast to many transit agencies around the country. Approximately 300,000 passenger trips were taken on the MTS system every weekday, serving more than 85 million riders a year. Because of transit, $1 billion in positive economic impact was generated for our region. Because of transit, 400 million fewer vehicles were driven, reducing greenhouse gas emissions and making our air cleaner. In fact, every dollar the public invests in MTS, the public receives almost 3 times that back in the forms of job, infrastructure investment, productivity gains, environmental benefits, and money saved by riders. We achieved these successes with less funding than other comparable transit agencies. We are funded off of 1/8 of 1 cent of sales tax. Compare that to Los Angeles, which gets 2 full cents. San Francisco, 1.5 cents. Even with this tremendous funding disparity, MTS outperforms transit systems in the other 15 largest metropolitan areas in our country with the highest cost recovery and lowest rider cost. There are transit agencies out there with nearly double the budget of MTS, and yet they only carry about 65% of the passengers we do. MTS is the best investment San Diegans have ever made. We have learned to do more with less. But we know we have a solid foundation and can grow our impact in the future. Earlier this year, we were gearing up to go to the voters for approval of a ballot measure, Elevate 2020, that would have brought in additional revenues to our transit agency and investment that would allow us to grow our reach, effectiveness, and impact. There was so much energy behind Elevate. We had built support from our partners because they recognized the potential for greater transit investment in our region. Elevate SD 2020 was our agency's first pursuit of a transit-only revenue measure. It was gaining tremendous momentum for the 2020 ballot. It proposed an investment that was designed to have immediate benefits for San Diego. Better connections for workers between their homes and their jobs. Longer hours of service, higher frequency, more high-speed routes, free transit for the more than 600,000 youth 18 and under. These are the things MTS could have done right away. And the emphasis and opportunity was on improvements now for our climate, for access to jobs and education, and the economic boost we badly need in San Diego. But due to the pandemic, we had to put those plans on hold. And now we are tasked with safely building back our ridership when we move beyond COVID-19 in 2021. Fortunately, we did not make drastic cuts to service over the past 9 challenging months because of years of stressing the importance of a sound budget, years of perfect scores on federal and state oversight audits, years of not overspending and keeping our financial house in order. Even though our now declining farebox revenue is an important part of our balanced budget. Despite the pandemic, we received great news last month that Standard & Poor's Global Ratings just raised our credit rating 2 points from an A+ to AA. What does this mean? Financial stability shows our strength to weather this pandemic. And even more importantly, it helps us better serve every passenger. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, many transit agencies are cutting service, slashing budgets, and eliminating jobs. But not at MTS. We have restored services to pre-COVID levels for residents to get to essential jobs and take essential trips. We are able to fully fund our budget. Our employees are keeping their jobs, and it will stay this way in 2021. Service levels will remain high. We will retain our operating hours, and we will have the same frequencies on our buses and trolleys. This is important to know. We will keep San Diego moving, and we will do it safely. In a world of uncertainty for San Diego County residents, MTS provides some level of stability. Lives have changed, we've mourned, we've struggled, but MTS has been there when people need it the most.
I appreciate how the Metropolitan Transit System, as a transit agency, is one of the top performing transit agencies west of the Mississippi. We know that because MTS has a strong culture of data gathering and data monitoring. We know, for instance, that the Metropolitan Transit System has some of the best farebox recovery rates in the country, which means that then the organization can continue to invest in its own infrastructure, and it's requiring less and less from taxpayers to be able to sustain the system.
Now, as we look towards 2021 and the future, we have an obligation, a responsibility to keep moving forward with important changes that are underway. Just because we have a pandemic does not mean we get to backslide. We need to recommit to racial justice, to swift climate action, and to safely building up our ridership again. Our Clean Ride program is a vital component of what we do to ensure a clean and sanitary transit system that is paramount to the transition to recovery from COVID-19. Riders need to feel confident to take transit. They need to feel comfortable to take transit. So we will continue our regimental Clean Ride program throughout 2021 and beyond. We will continue using the strongest disinfectants recommended by the CDC. All of our buses and trolleys will be sanitized inside and out every night after service. Our stations will be power washed daily with CDC-approved disinfectants. Our 400-plus bus shelters and 1,500 bus benches will be cleaned regularly as well. The hand washing stations installed by the County of San Diego at all 53 transit centers are being used frequently, and they will remain on our platforms. And it will continue to be mandatory to wear masks while riding our transit system. We will prioritize all of this and more in 2021. Our Clean Ride program is critical to protecting our essential workers. Keeping these passengers, along with our employees, safe is our #1 priority. Not only will MTS maintain safety and protect our essential workers in 2021, but trolley riders will be gaining 11 new miles of track and 9 new stations. We are excited that beginning in the fall, the UC San Diego Blue Line extension will open, providing a 1-seat ride from the U.S.-Mexico border in San Ysidro all the way to UTC. It will provide better access to one of the top universities in the world, UC San Diego, home to more than 75,000 students, teachers, and staff. Once open, the trolley will have 2 stops at the UC San Diego main campus and continue to serve Park and Market, which is adjacent to the new UC San Diego extension. The trolley extension will also provide seamless access to world-class hospitals and better accessibility to healthcare for my fellow military veterans at the VA Medical Center. And it will provide better access to jobs. UTC is the 2nd largest job center in San Diego, and where so many of our essential hospital workers, x-ray technicians, respiratory therapists, nurses, custodians, and many more go to work. It's the heart of one of the world's largest concentrations of biotech jobs, a vital part of our region. Many San Diego residents working in the UTC and Sorrento Valley areas live in the South Bay. So providing access to better jobs and wages for our South Bay neighborhoods that embrace transit embodies the true purpose of this project. I want to personally thank the San Diego Association of Governments team for this great new addition to our trolley system. SANDAG secured the funding, SANDAG built it, and MTS will run it efficiently, safely, and on time. And with an opening date in November, we cannot wait to get the Blue Line open. The 11-mile extension to UTC is the 10th expansion since the trolley opened in 1981. This year is a benefiting time to celebrate and talk about the significance of the trolley. In July, we will also be celebrating the trolley's 40th anniversary. The San Diego Trolley, the first modern light rail system in North America, has given us so much. 40 years of less cars on the road, 40 years of improving the air we breathe, 40 years of helping families get to work and get to school. Progress and monumental change is in front of us. A system that has done so much for our working families will be expanding, getting stronger, and going to higher levels. On the bus side, we will also be taking our service to higher levels for passengers in 2021. Significant progress will be made with our zero-emission bus program. In 2020, we began making historic moves by finalizing a transition plan to an all-electric bus fleet by 2040, if not sooner, and by fast-tracking the purchase of more electric buses. We are committed to swapping out polluting vehicles for zero-emission ones and placing those clean buses in our communities most impacted by environmental justice air pollution issues. In the coming months, 2 more electric buses will be going into service, bringing our total to 8. In 2021, electric buses will be operating in nearly all the cities we serve, including El Cajon, La Mesa, Lemon Grove, National City, City of San Diego, Coronado, Imperial Beach, and Chula Vista. And in Chula Vista, our South Bay Bus Division will be groundbreaking site for a new overhead electric charging system for our new fleet of zero-emission buses. We will be one of the first in North America to install this charging technology for electric buses. This year, we will also purchase 12 new all-electric rapid buses on the high-speed, limited-stop bus routes MTS has been operating since 2015. The newest addition will be the all-electric Iris Rapid Route, which will begin service in 2022 and run between the Otay Mesa Port of Entry and the neighborhoods in Imperial Beach. These milestones to electrify our bus fleet shows our demonstrated commitment to being a national leader for running a clean operation.
MTS's strong investment in these new clean, zero-emission buses is a win-win for so many reasons. It's a win-win for the community because it's going to be cleaning up the air and providing excellent quality construction jobs to the local electrical industry. The technology is here, the workforce is here, and thanks to MTS's clear commitment to a strong local workforce, we are going to get these buses out on the road and clean up the air and clean up the environment. The faster, the better.
So transportation sources generate gases that are warming up the planet and causing toxic air pollution. We are in Barrio Logan, and other environmental justice communities like National City and City Heights are fronting the burden of toxic air pollution because of the port of entry, because of diesel trucks and other transportation sources. Now, we're celebrating and super excited that MTS has now decided to transition its own bus fleet to electric buses, because that will reduce the gases that are warming up the planet and also causing toxic air pollution. Last year, MTS decided to prioritize communities like Barrio Logan, City Heights, and National City to deploy those buses. That's where we need to see them, because that's where the most toxic air pollution is located. We can't wait to see that happening, because our communities deserve to breathe clean air, and we hope that MTS takes the lead in transitioning its full bus fleet by 2030. We need action now.
We must also quickly move towards zero emissions so we can provide the clean air benefits our communities need from us. We have to and will be a leader. We were one of the first agencies in California to begin the transition away from traditional gasoline and diesel fuels. All 161 trolleys run on 100% electricity, and it's clean electricity, produced from solar and wind power. The system has 500 solar-powered bus shelters. We have 2 state-of-the-art LEED certified facilities for operations, maintenance, and fueling. We are moving aggressively towards the purchase of zero-emission buses. We want to make sure we are doing everything we can with the vehicles we do have in our fleet. MTS uses a renewable form of natural gas sourced from waste, which produces fewer toxic emissions than diesel and regular natural gas. One of the most monumental milestones MTS will reach this year is retiring the last of the 24 diesel buses. This will happen next month. And by the end of the year, all MTS fixed route vehicles, more than 700 buses and 161 trolleys, will be running on renewable energy. When our economy opens back up this year and carries even more people to work and school, and I'm confident it will, they will be greeted by a new fare collection system. This summer, MTS will launch Pronto. Nearly all the payment option riders currently use will still be available, but Pronto will be even more accessible, easier to buy a fare, prioritizing touchless mobile ticketing and introducing new pay-as-you-go options. And at full build-out, places to buy a fare will expand from 60 to 400 retail outlets. The best feature riders should know about is fare capping. This means that riders will never pay for more than a day pass in one day or a monthly pass in 1 month. MTS is more than just a transportation provider. We are a part of this community. And at MTS, we need to do more for our unsheltered population. We will continue to work with partners and explore new programs to ensure that we are part of the regional solution. Because of recent policy changes in MTS, we are making a real push to develop more housing close to transportation lines. We have identified more than 57 MTS-owned acres for affordable housing. Not only does this have the potential to provide thousands of affordable new homes for San Diegans, but also provides a new source of revenue to support MTS and provide better service for our riders. In addition to new extending service on the UC San Diego Blue Line, reaching historic milestones with our bus fleet, and rolling out a new fare system for our riders, security improvements will also be a top priority in 2021. We are all aware of what is happening around the country when it comes to law enforcement reform. Change is absolutely necessary, and we need to take a critical look at our public security within our own agency. This can be hard, but it is a necessary step. For the past year, we've sought changes to our security practices, including making substantial changes to our use of force policy, we are now using best practices outlined in a national campaign, 8 Can't Wait, which guides agencies on some key policies such as prohibiting carotid restraint on the head and neck. We've introduced a new fare evasion diversion program that moves away from criminal proceedings and gives riders alternates to pay their fare and their fines. We cannot trap riders in the criminal justice system simply for being poor. Another change is a new look for our security teams. With our philosophical shift from enforcement to service, MTS security officers will be wearing new uniforms that visually connect with the communities we serve. We will continue to make improvements in 2021. That starts at the top. As of 2 days ago, MTS has a new Director of Transit Security and Passenger Safety. We are excited to welcome Al Styler, a 30-year transit veteran. He will lead our 220 security officers and code compliance inspectors. One of his top priorities will be managing the results of the independent peer review of our security and enforcement system and practices. In total, the review team has 65 recommendations of how we can improve fare inspections, officer training, video retention, expanding the ambassador program, how we patrol, and so much more. One of the most significant elements to these recommendations is that they must align with what the community has been telling us. We had multiple meetings to gain insights from community leaders about security reforms, and we shared those insights with the peer review team. We understand how important it was to listen and to continue listening. Those inputs from our community conversations are reflected in the recommendations coming forward. MTS staff will take a deep dive over the next 6 weeks and develop an action plan for how we move forward with taking these recommendations and making them policies. I would like to personally thank San Diego City Council member Monica Montgomery Stepp for her leadership on the MTS board, and in particular as chair of the MTS Public Security Committee. She's demonstrated keen awareness and leadership on these issues and has been a driving force for change in our security culture. I would also like to thank the community leaders who have helped us with this path forward. This type of community collaboration will continue in 2021.
So what we did as MTS board members was we took the input from community advocates and also our riders. And what we found also from our data collection is that we were issuing more fare evasion citations than New York and Los Angeles, which have larger transit systems. And so we took that information and also the input we received from community members, and we changed the system. And so now we have a fare evasion diversion pilot, which has reduced the amount that a ticket costs, but it also gives our riders an opportunity to appeal or an opportunity to do community service instead of paying for the citation. And so we are making a lot of changes just based on that program alone, and I'm excited for what's to come.
When I became MTS chair in 2019, I made a goal for our agency to be more engaged with the community at all levels. Listening to the community is really where it all starts. And even more important, listening to create positive change. It builds trust, it demonstrates transparency, it shows accountability, and ultimately builds a much stronger bond between the people we serve every day. We will continue to listen to organizations that have given us valuable insight. Organizations like Mid-City CAN, Environmental Health Coalition, Climate Action Campaign, SD 350, Circulate San Diego, Highway 52 Coalition, Casa Familiar, IBW 465 and 569, ATU 1309, the San Diego Building Trades, Father Joe's Villages, San Diego Food Bank, Associated Students at San Diego State and UC San Diego, South Bay Community Services, business groups like the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce, San Ysidro and Otay Mesa Chambers of Commerce, the South County EDC, and many, many more. We will continue to involve the community often and broaden our efforts to begin with Elevate SD 2020 and the MTS Community Advisory Committee.
And
MTS has been a steadfast community partner of the San Diego Food Banks for over a decade. We team up every December for our annual Stuff the Bus food drive, which generates hundreds of thousands of pounds of food to combat food insecurity right here in San Diego. So the fact that MTS has established the CAC in order to gain feedback from the community and to also have feedback from community partners like the San Diego Food Bank has been tremendous. It has been great to serve on the CAC committee for a number of reasons, but the most important thing is that we're keeping our service population in mind when accessing our food distributions. Not only the fact that they would have access to public transportation, but that it's safe and reliable, and MTS is doing everything they can to make sure that happens.
Even though we made the decision to not go to the voters in November of last year, we are continuing our hard work to find additional funding for transit in our region. We were inspired by our conversations with the community and reaching towards a better transit future. And that's why I am so pleased that Elevate SD is continuing our conversations about the future of transit in San Diego, and MTS will provide its full support for what is being done at Sandag. Sandag's 5 big moves will take transportation in a bold, a needed, a necessary new direction, a direction I fully support. And I also support balancing what's needed now with what's needed in the future and the role MTS can play along with the vision of what is coming over the next 20, 30, and 40 years. With funding, MTS can help bridge that gap, ensuring that transit ridership grows while laying the foundation for a more advanced transportation network in San Diego County. So I look forward to working with my colleagues on the Sandag Board of Directors on this bold new vision and having a dialogue about balancing what we know we can do now with the foresight of what the regional transportation system deserves for its long-term future. The thread that binds our efforts in 2021 is a real commitment to equity. It is a real commitment to providing clean air and efficient transit, a real commitment to substantive public safety changes, understanding the cries of Black Lives Matter are not a slogan, but motivation for actual change we are making. It is a real commitment to treating all people with dignity and respect, regardless of their ethnicity, their income, their creed, their sexual orientation, their immigration status, or their age. We have to do right by our transit riders and do right by our employees. And I make this promise to you, that MTS will commit to being a transit system that puts equity at the forefront. We will invest in the planning, the policies, and the people to make sure that equity comes first. We are in the middle of a very dark COVID-19 winter in San Diego. But our commitment to our riders, to our community, and to our region will continue through this. We keep our trolleys and our buses clean and running safely on time. We expand our trolley network, providing transportation options for more riders. We make the switch to zero-emission buses so that we are a part of the solution to the climate crisis. We initiate new public safety reforms to center the voices and experiences of our community members. We launch new fare systems to ensure we're providing the best experience for our riders. While we may be in a dark winter today, there is great reason to be optimistic about the future of transit in San Diego. With great transit systems, there are always great people. What we have established and the positive direction we are going is a reflection of these dedicated, talented employees and strong MTS leadership. So on behalf of the entire MTS family, thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to a historic 2021. Mask up, stay safe, stay strong, stay healthy. We'll talk to you soon.